Something tangible remains clear in mind. My head is spinning. Gotta regain control. I want what's within my grasp. It's a truth that eludes me. I want what's within my grasp. It's a truth that has gone through the eyes of my peers. There is a glow that radiates. Take us a place that I can't feel. Drugs wearing thin.
Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me? Can you all see me? Wonderful, wonderful. It is fantastical to see you all here on this fine Sunday. It's a lot of interaction in the beginning part of the stream here. It's exactly what I was hoping for. Because I do think that the topic of today's stream is completely subjective, you know? It's going to vary between, you know, what you're getting out of Warframe right now. Before we get into the meat of it all, though, I want to wish you all a good day. Again, I do appreciate your time coming by and speaking your mind a little bit, because it actually helps me in the idea that if I get kind of a vibe of what the community, even in a, you know, little truncated spot, feels about things in mass, if you will, evaluating everything overall, gives you a lot better idea of the health of the game, as far as, like, you know, just where people are currently at with it, and that's important. You want a video about the theory of traveling to Tau? You mean like the original travel, or like when we are headed forward to it eventually? Because whereas I could do a video, but my heart wouldn't be in it, because I don't think we're quite going there yet. I do think we are going there at some point. I definitely think that is 100% on the table. That being said, I do think within the context of the story and where we're at, we would have to kind of, there's a lot to establish to get to Tao. Because if you take into consideration the idea, I will get to Rebecca here. Just don't worry, most of the stream will be about Rebecca. But I mean, this is actually ties in with Rebecca too, because Rebecca's really, as I understand it, like if nothing else, she's calling off, or she's the one that's signing off on, if nothing else, every aspect of the story. And I would also say that it's funny. I pulled up an article about Rebecca here that I wanted to share because I thought it was a really, really good one. But as far as Tao's concerned, I don't think we're quite there yet. I'm not saying we're not going. It just I personally think that in reading the tea leaves, if you will, that's not there yet. But we'll see. I could be 100% wrong. It'll be the first time. Now, so what I wanted to talk about Rebecca with, though, it's a lot grander of a situation when you're talking about that, because essentially she took over as creative director right around the beginning, right when a little bit before Duviri was released. And I mean, I'll get this out of the way right now. I would assume if you've been following this channel for any bit of time, or you've even caught a video or two, you would assume that I'm very much on board with what's going on with Warframe. I feel like Warframe is the best game in its genre right now, and I don't think that Warframe could say that at all times. Now, you could say that that's a product of a few things, other games not doing as well, and I'm sure you could actually make a legitimate argument, but overall, just the variety of different things to do, something that I really think, even whenever there's misses, to me, it's one of the things that kind of makes Warframe at least unique enough to the point where the game isn't just the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I mean, really, if you think about it, Warframe could do that. They could just keep making the same type of tile sets and doing the same type of campaigns and just adding new mods and new guns and taking out different all the different like kind of unique type of things that they have in the game. They could just remove all that stuff. And in the grand scheme, I can't even say that if they were to do all that stuff that they wouldn't be in a better position. But what I will say is, and again, this is just for my own personal tastes, I just think that, or maybe I'm just not the type of person that can play the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Like, after a while, I'll get tired and bored, and I just can't do it anymore. So the fact that like, especially when we get new things, like Duviri to me was one of the most fun updates that I've ever had the chance to experience, as like right out of the gate, mainly because of the fact that it was so different. And it added such unique things to it that, like, I wanted to see what I could do. A perfect example was, and I've talked about this in other streams, that like with Duviri, like the absolute, in my opinion, the best decree to get is the one where your foot speed increases for every single decree that that you receive. And to me, I was like, okay, well, that, I'm sure it gets to a certain point, and then, because right off the bat in Duviri, our characters were kind of sluggish and slow. So I'm like, oh man, okay, here we go. This is just going to be, we'll get a little bit fast, but not ridiculous fast. But no. Some of the most fun that I've had in gaming has been tearing around Duviri at light speed, watching these little legs move at like twitchy legs across, just picking up things. And then what I will say is, maybe I'm off on this. I think you all can maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like with the introduction of Duviri and like with Angels of Zariman and Whispers in the Walls, the focus of a lot of the story started moving into the tile sets themselves. Like, I really see a change in the visual aspect of the worlds. Because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the worlds, even the open worlds, like even Deimos to me is very boring because it's all shaded in like one big color. It's hard to kind of find things unless you know where things are at. It's just, to me, it doesn't inspire coming back and grinding the thing. And I would say a very similar thing exists with sIEGES, in the fact that, like, and put that onto Fortuna as well. It's like there's this big open area, and there's just not enough stuff in it to make it look unique enough to be like special. Like, I look at Fortuna and I see just a bunch of Corpus tile sets with some snow on it, and I look at the sIEGES and I see, well, it's just like, it's kind of earth tile sets with, expanded out with some extra animals and shit, and it's like with Deimos, it's just one big red planet. Like, there, sure, there's life everywhere, but what those places, in my mind at least, and again, this is just my own personal opinion, but what they lack is like a true identity. Whereas when you get into Duviri, or even the Zariman 10-0, or like I said, or Entrati's Labs, or even 1999, like, you get into these places, and even though they're not open worlds, there's just like, the walls are dripping with story, and you feel like you are in these spots, right? So, to me, the fact that she or they, whatever, under her tutelage or direction or whatever, or just saying, hey, okay, I like that idea, good job, go with it. Like, I feel like the quality of the game in that regard has increased tenfold. And that's what I do, with my channel, is I go into these places. Like, I would even make the argument that probably one of the two coolest places leading up to, and I guess by extension there's like an alternate variant of it, but the two coolest places leading up to like the Zariman 10-0 are essentially Lua and the Void, with the Derelicts kind of like, they're being like an offshoot of that, right? But in my mind, again, although I love the Orican tile set, I love the way it looks, to me, it just looks like these same kind of structures just over and over and over and over again. There's no, like, when I go into Lua or I go like onto the Void, I don't feel like people lived there. Does that make sense? Like, I don't, it doesn't look like there was anybody that actually like existed in these places at all. You know, it's just like there's these long, wide open spaces with different stuff. I'll get into the storytelling and everything. I'll get into my opinion on all this stuff. Um, if you have a specific question for me, because there's going to be a lot of questions in the chat, and I know I'm going to miss stuff, make sure you tag me in the question. I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. Okay. Because I don't want to lose my train of thought. I do that too often. But you know, in regards to that aspect of it, the storytelling part, or I mean the world, like just the visual aspect. I mean, look at this place in particular. Like this is great. The mall is great. There's all kinds of like little quirky things. There's things that you walk around and you ask yourself, wait, is that something? Is that something interesting? That looks like something weird. Whereas like, you know, perfect example, like on Lua, about the only thing that really, aside from seeing the Orcan cities way in the distance that you can't get to, about the best thing you're going to find is like that globe that seems to always follow you after you go by every time that, you know, we have a quest, you know, or those ghosts that are there. But, you know, aside from that, and I would, like I said, you could go way further in something like the Kuva Fortress. Like, to me, there should be all kinds of little, given what Kuva is, and you know the Orcan ancestry of the Grineer Queens, right? I would assume, and the fact that there's these huge tubs of Kuva, just like boiling or brewing or whatever the hell they're doing, I would assume the void would be all over that place, right? But yet, at the same time, like you don't see any of that. It's such a controlled environment, and maybe that's supposed to be, but what we've come to know the void as is such an uncontrollable thing that it's hard for me to just sit there and look at that and be like, oh, okay, well, I got it under control here, obviously, you know? So that's the first thing that I noticed about this, you know, essentially her reign, if you will. But if you would, I'd like to actually go over this article here real quick, because I actually think it's good. It's a good read, you know, and afterwards, like, we'll kind of get everybody's opinion on you know what you think. But it says, hopefully everybody can see this. This article is by Sam Chapera, so it's obviously you know, it's done internally, but I still don't think that that degrades it, because just read it, or just let me read it to you, and you tell me what you think. On February 1st, 2022, Rebecca Ford, Warframe's former director of community and live ops, became the creative director of Warframe, which was later revealed at TennoCon 2022 stage, and her leadership developing the massive Duviri Paradox update, alongside its ever-changing mood spirals, came to represent more than just the damage types of enemy Oroworms. Anytime the team felt a shift in their emotions, these spirals reflected the work they put into Duviri. Any such mood, just like the draconic Oroworms in game, spawns many children, whether in self-doubt or determination. This is a journey. There is this journey, this mountain. And even though I'm not climbing this metaphorical mountain alone, if I slip now, I bring people down with me, Rebecca explained. Self-doubt is a dangerous dragon to confront. It gives way to the tension of fear, leading one to the spiral of emotions. Warframe lives and dies by the community and the people that play it, she added. But Rebecca is determined to bring the best to the community. And in that process, over the last year, building Duviri became more than just an expansion for players to enjoy. It reflected Rebecca's professional and personal growth. There's never a dull moment with game development, and Warframe isn't any different. When the Mad King of Duviri, Dominus Thrax, slams his fist in anger and wakes up with joy, Rebecca feels those in-game emotions represent her journey over the last year. Duviri is like, you held a mirror before me while I was learning my new job, she said. It was an emotional spiral. But Rebecca also believes Duviri shows the moods of all the teams and departments. It was a representation of their passions. Every department had to bring their personality and experience to invoke joy or envy. Personality built the colors, effects, sounds, art, and design, she added. And it was in those moments of design that watching each mood come to fruition was incredible. And seeing the culmination of Duviri rang nostalgic, bringing back memories of a time when Warframe was just beginning and of the values that pushed Rebecca to where she is today. The 10-year anniversary of Warframe reminds the new creative director of when the lives of the original development crew changed forever, when Warframe began developing its early, steady player base. We basically started off on a raft with a paddle. If there were 20 of us trying to stay afloat, she said, we had people that cared about what we were doing, and I felt I had a purpose in my career now, and that's to support Warframe. It was an emotional time back in 2013 for those on the raft. Although they've upgraded the boat many times over in the years since, those decade-old experiences help ensure her creative process as the teams around Rebecca continue to put their trust in her. The folks that have worked so hard on Warframe truly handed me the project and said, you're now a creative director. You know, it's up to you to continue what we started. I'll get back to this in a second, though. So, why I wanted to read that little excerpt is because I think, for me, it comes in stark contrast to, and I really hate to keep using this as a comparison, but at the end of the day, it's the only one that really does, let's say, really work well within the context of things. But I'm reminded of that GDC conference with one of the executives with Bungie, and talked about like kind of holding their team back in certain cycles because they didn't want to set an example that they couldn't replicate moving forward, you know. And with what I read there, I feel like that's maybe why the difference, where the difference lies, and when why, at least at this moment, because everything changes all the time, but at least at this moment, these two, you know, similarly played games, like a lot of players play Warframe, play Destiny, and vice versa, and they started around the same time, and they're basically still around the same time. Like, they're kind of as good as a one-to-one comparison as you're going to get in this type of, especially in a live service environment, right? Especially for the longevity of both of them. But like, you see that within the aspects or the confines of Warframe, these additional acts of, or these additional spurts of creativity and stuff, they're embraced, they're taken in by management, and like, okay, that sounds good, keep going, give me more, what else can you do, versus, whoa, that sounds pretty awesome, we might need to hold just off on that a little bit. And like, that doesn't inspire people. I'm sorry, that does not inspire anybody. And therein, in my opinion, lies the difference in where we are at now versus where we were. Because I really think that this has taken a step plus, if you will, in moving into such amazing creativity. And I've seen in the chats here that a lot of people don't like where the story's going. And I mean, you are 100% entitled to your opinion, because everybody's experience with the story is subjective. However, I would have to vehemently disagree, only because I see so many of what I would consider some of the greatest concepts in today's storytelling finding their way into Warframe's story. And that makes me excited. Like, a perfect example is the concept of the king in yellow. There's this book, right? That you're not supposed to read it, right? And dare I say, there may not be in existence a fully complete copy, right? Oh, I understand the story. I mean, okay. You're right about that. The story has gotten way more complicated. That is correct. But how can you keep a living world going for 10, 12 years and not add additional complexity as the world grows? That is by, it would happen naturally as the world would reopen up again after the collapse. To me, this is exactly in line with how the world had become somewhat quiet, with the Tenno being essentially put away, and with very little in regards of fighting amongst the origin system. Most of the groups, being reduced in heavy ways. Many being kind of reduced to scavenging and whatnot. And the world's very small in the beginning of Warframe when you first started up, because the world is small after everything being destroyed. But as the story grows, the complexity is all coming back. And what I think is one of the most interesting aspects of the story is awakening is what brought back the old complexity. See, there's an aspect of the complex that the Orkin, or if nothing else, those that dealt with the Tenno, had believed they had quieted. And in all rights, they had quieted. And through the information we have within the story, this particular entity was by all rights non-existent. So not only did Awakening the Tenno begin to start asking the question of, what did you do? They're at this point in the game, understand that there is a legitimate argument to essentially keeping the Tenno in their cryopods and never waking them up. Oh, yes, may the fourth be with all of you. Sorry. Well, man, see, everybody thinks that the story's about love because Entrati said that, but you gotta remember how Entrati is, man. For a second, let's talk about the dark side of love. Probably one of the funniest, when I was growing up at least, unfortunately, things kind of changed a good bit as years went by, but Dane Cook, when he was on the scene in the beginning, had a joke about people in relationships, right? In that he had discussed with his friends, and some of them, especially his female friends, would give the dumbest reasons for staying with the person they were with. And understand, in those situations, all they would do is complain, you know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's funny because it's true. I had tons of friends growing up in this exact same boat, and I'm saying on my male friends and my female friends, where they would be in these relationships for 2, 3 years, 4 years, and just complain and complain and complain, and many times not have kids or anything that would like keep them directly tied to this person, right? But within the joke, Dane Cook says, he says, "What? I can't leave. He has like 20 of my CDs, compact discs for for those that don't understand that the original, the thing before Blu-rays, 25 anywhere from $7 to $14 items was enough to keep a person, according to them, in a bad relationship that made them feel horrible, and there was no redeeming reason for them to be in it." So many people in the Warframe community, because they've seen one thing in Whispers in the Walls, have now just associated Albert Entrati as this great lover man. Like he is the best boyfriend ever because he looks good. And I would make the argument that not only is he attempting to make the argument to all of you that he's not in it for love or anything like that, he's desperately trying to tell you that there is a dark side to love. And unfortunately, it may be that I was the one who let it out. But unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with it all the same. And I would say one of the main aspects of proof would be in the fact that Entrati specifically never told Lloyd how he felt, rather having to put it in the page of a book. That way, while it was occurring, he could divorce himself from the emotions of what he was writing, and thus be able to pass the information on to Lloyd whilst keeping himself indifferent in the process. And the way that I assumed that it was he was waiting until after Lloyd's, basically Entrati went to 1999 and Lloyd destroyed the machine, that the idea, at least the idea as it's described, is that by going back, this was a place that the indifference couldn't follow him. So, with Entrati now here and Lloyd supposedly not having a tie to the man on the wall, he could then read the page, feel any emotions that were necessary, and not be potentially under fire. Unfortunately, I just think Entrati's made some miscalculations along the way. So let me do this real quick because I think everybody kind of enjoys it. Make sure to put yourself in the comments just in case that I don't get you. But I just want to say hello to Ban Bootlicking, Matthew Reader, Matthew Martinez, Drusick, Rays, White Noise 17, Creso, Tax, Emil, Odd Me, Royal Boyo, Riot Girl, Danny, Scorpio Warrior, and Cap Gamer, Archiplumbus, Mathin, Fallen Cerberus, God himself. I love that. Let's see, who did I miss? Diego, Ascending, Nico, Jose Rem, Log Vaughn, Jack Kunisaki. I hope I said that correct. Doomhauser. I want to say thank you all to being here with me. Hades. Let's see, who else did I miss? AX. I always like doing this. Drip Rubies. I like that. Patrick. Gemma. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. If I did, put yourself in a Frank, in the Mystic Dragon, him. Good to see everybody. Andrew. Yes, yes. Okay, I think I got you. All right. I always like saying hello. Gemma. Gemma with 10 memberships. Thank you so much. Gemma. She's doing the void's work for us. That's what you know. That's what you know. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really sweet. And Gemma, if you want help with something today, I would be happy to do just that, as I promised yesterday. Well, in Cap Gamer, I don't think that it is. I agree with that statement. Pella, hello? Kobe? I don't think it is. I think you're right. I think you're right in that. Like, it is a crazy twist off. And I will be the first person to say that, like, after the new war, this is not what I thought at all. I was like, when Duviri was odd to me in the beginning. I even made a video wondering if Duviri was even going to ever come. And then, like, Angels of the Zeraman. I gotta admit, I absolutely love that one, man. The Zeraman's the coolest. It's so fun to be there. It's so freaky in that place. But that was a good one. Entrati Labs, I absolutely adore, but like when we went back to 1999, like I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Pardon my French. That doesn't mean that, as I've come to understand it, like I'll be honest, in the beginning of a lot of this stuff, I probably had a very similar reaction to a lot of you. Like, what is going on here? How is this happening? But as I've come to see, and that's how I look at stories. If you want to introduce something that even retcons previous things, right? I'm okay with that if you can explain it in a way that makes sense. Like, it's okay because things can happen. And I think some great stories can be derived from adding additional context to stories that we already had. So with that in mind, like, I really do think that you don't have to stay completely true to like the edition, or like the original on everything, but you do have to explain why these things are occurring. And what I think is, well, I mean, not everybody in the community is on board with my assessment of things, but through what I would say, through two potentially new revelations in taking the Warframe story as a whole. And I'm talking about all of it because that's the hardest thing. I'll explain that in a second there, Cap Gamer. Well, I think there's a reason. Okay. It's amazing that it's coming into this right now. Now, again, you all know, and you come here. You come here. Hey, Zerg. MXX. What the fuck, man? That's a great one. Coda Drifter, did I say hello to you? If I didn't, I apologize, but good to see you as well. Sculpt Mage, Gaming Nerd. So, all right. Let me finish this point, and then I will address a couple others, because actually, I will address the others with this point. All right, check this out. Oh, Creso, welcome to Scholars. Good to see you. So, it's one thing to take every quest as itself a story, but it's very different when you begin to take the entirety of the Warframe story and you start to look at it on a very large scale. Yum Lemming Kebabs. That's what a great name. Default, good to see you. I am the spooky speculation man. So when you take this on a long enough timeline, right? Now, I'm not going to say that these are guaranteed revelations because they're not. And I think there hasn't been enough information offered to truly lock down these, let's say, revelations that I've come up with. But there are these overlapping pieces of dialogue, if you will, that come in such in-your-face type scenarios. Again, now you have to do this in hindsight, because if you just play a quest, you're not going to see it. If you just play 2 quests, you're not going to see it. You have to go back and devote a day or 2 to the story, because that's how long it is. And I mean, hey, I'm just going to tell you that better get some caffeine and all kinds of other stuff, whatever keeps you up too, because it's long, man. And it's, when I was sick, this was half the things that I was doing, because I couldn't really record or anything because my voice was just gone. So all I'll say, and I said it on Friday, and we actually kind of, I kind of gave it up to the members last night. Now it's going to be in the video that this week for certain, I promise. This, again, go to my Friday stream, you'll understand why this video ain't out. My dog got her nail cut to the quick, and then I was a sick kid. And I was sick. It was a rough 2 weeks in the household, let me tell you. But it's only allowed the video to become better because I didn't just sit on my laurels during those 2 weeks. I figured, what the hell? Why not let's just look at it all. Let's take a look at everything and like examine everything and look for patterns, because that's what I do. That's what I do well. I see patterns, right? And I saw a pattern. And it's a pattern that, to me, opens up the story in such a way that it makes so much of what we see make sense. That in my mind, if I was the writer of the story, I would be like, this is the only way the story can go now. That being said, given that people have accepted what happened in this particular moment already largely as truth, they can do whatever they want with the story. Because at this point, like, no, I've not seen one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody did question this before, but I have not seen in my research anybody question a very particular tie between the new war and the Chains of Harrow. And it is, like, if it's true, it's such a big deal, because it really does allow for everything you see in a relay to make sense. All of it. But with that in mind, that's kind of the reason why I'm excited for the story as it continues on, because like I said, I just kind of see the path, or I see a path. Maybe it's not the path, but I see a path, and because of the path that I see, that is if Warframe doesn't deviate from it, like I see a very wonderful story arc that incorporates a number of different things. And I think one of the things that I was reading in the comments a little bit earlier is the fact that like they've made the Tenno into this lover, you know, using healing and junk and stuff as the like their power. And to me, as I look at it, I ask the question of, when you are up against an entity that gave you your power, exactly how does one deal with that? Would it be through combat? Because whereas it's not been, let's say, I'm just gonna play some little BS missions so you all get something to look at while I'm BSing. How's that? We'll just go with some Void Fishers. Anybody want to play? If you want to, let me know. But like I said, I see. Well, Faust, hello, good to see you. I would say you've got some of the words in there in your response to AX. One in particular. We'll hop on in. You know the drill. Well, okay, but bear in mind something, because this is important. When we're talking about the Tenno, it's an odd thing because I think the War Within kind of clouds the idea of the Tenno operator, in that, because in the beginning at least, Lotus treats us like a kid, that the operator is a kid, but in reality they're really old. You know, like, and they're exceptionally experienced. Like, not to mention, I would say that the Tenno children specifically, being that they would have had the Orkin's teaching of trying and being able to control their emotions. Now, it didn't always work. There's one scene in particular in the New War that kind of shows that. Whoa, wait, but there's just one person in that room. Nothing. So what I'm saying is they, they've definitely had a rough go of life, but they are battle-tested individuals. Like, you put a Tenno in, especially one that's kind of regained their memories of who they were, you've got a formidable thing to deal with. And you see that in game many times. Like, one of the main times, I'll give you a perfect example, is the Tenno's confidence against Teshin in the War Within. Now, this is before they really had any type of remembrance of, let's say, do I have a, yeah, I got all that. Of, their true power or anything else like that yet. Teshin, one of the most respected people at the relay, like for his battle prowess and who he is and everything else like that, comes right up, and they have they square off straight up, and the Tenno does not back down for a second. They are not weak creatures. They are very, very hardy. Well, this was kind of going back to my original point. Jem, if you want to join up, we can roll right in there and take your tank the tank down, and then we'll get to the Void Fishers if you want. It's up to you. mean, I feel like I owe you that much, if nothing else. You do so much for the channel. Like, if you want it, you let me know. You tell me. Say the word. But you want to do? Well, we'll just we'll do a quick run here, and then we'll get out, and then whenever Gem is done, we'll do that. Beep beep beep. I don't know that I have anything that I like. This is kind of on the whim. Today's stream is more about me BSing than actually doing anything in particular. Yes, that one will do fine. Thanks. Well, it's not about owing. It's more so about just like, paying it back a little bit too. It's just to say, hey, thanks. Thanks. That's nice. Thanks. Right? Silvix. Off topic, but am I interested at all in marathon? It looks kind of interesting. The problem is I feel like the game is just. Let me say this. With what happened with Concord and the fact that there's this Arc Raiders game that's coming out that's getting like much better reception, I'm curious to see if hey Zerg, do you mind if we take down this this tank real quick, and then we'll do that way we can like stay in the Omni or the Fisher for a while. We can do a bunch of them in a row. Which Gemma, if you want to fire up the mission there, that'd be cool. We'll do that. We'll do your mission, and then we'll do some Fishers. Yep. No, like I said, fire it up. We're ready to. You've got 2 Tenno with you, fully armed and filthy. Actually, I'm not filthy. I'm looking pretty clean right there. Look at that. I do. Load it up. So, again, now for me, bear in mind I didn't put this on the thumbnail because I wanted people to come here, that had both opinions, right? But for me, the different types of game modes that we have. Oh no, what happened? Okay, so you're back. Okay, cool. It said that you left the thing for a second. Hey, if you want to get in, it's you know the deal. Let's get in. Well, I mean, I do my best. Oh my God, what weapons do I have on?
10 points.
I was worth 10? Nice. But what I was going to say is essentially the Rebecca. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Many people probably know that, like, I took a significant break from Warframe. Good year plus, and I would say that you could make the argument that what I've come back to is largely what has brought the channel back. So, I mean, like her lumper, if you like this channel, you're gonna have to give her some credit there, because this channel probably wouldn't exist without what's happened in the past couple of years. Straight up.
Seal the sector. missile, damn it. Ferricite barricades. Nothing you've got can get
Oh,
past those
I
except...
love it. So that's what I love to hear.
Okay.
Ah, that's the best. I can
First step.
whap on this thing
Get
with
your
an
hands on the
unranked
sculpture
mire
commander's
and not worry about
transponder.
anything. Well, hey, anytime that we're playing, that's kind of the other thing I like to use the stream
Now,
for, like,
get
because
to the
I know
comms
that there's a
terminal
lot
and
of
use
people
thing
that
to call in Stormfall
they're like me,
paratroopers.
they're solo players and stuff like
You
that,
heard
and
me
there's
right.
some aspects of the game that just a little bit can be
Stormfall
just
paratroopers
too
inbound.
much.
Wrestle
Too much
those
work
RPGs from their
for what you're
cold,
getting out.
dead
I'm not going to say
hands.
it's too hard or anything. I feel like if someone wanted something bad
You are
enough,
trying
they
my
would get it.
patience
But
with
like,
this
it's also in
antics.
situations like you have to
Stormfall
look at it from the
troops.
concept of like,
Maybe his
you
healing's
know,
going away.
is it worth my time to put everything in that? And potentially have to run it multiple times. I totally understand that idea. So if the stream can, help out a little bit with anybody with that, yeah, absolutely. And again, that's what I'm saying. Like, here's where we're at 1999, floppy, that this is the culmination of what we've come to. So with that in mind, like, I can nitpick some stuff if you want me to. I mean, I can absolutely do that.
Citizens, an object lesson
There's
in
definitely some things that I really do
self-delusion.
not care for in
They are
Warframe.
Hex. High on their own supply, they mean to murder the
I
Sculptor
don't.
Commander.
I still
devoted
still
to
think
keeping
the
infestation from your
melee needs a serious, like,
They
it
launch
just needs to be
themselves
redone.
towards purification
Not for
only.
damage or anything else like that, but for like the way it looks.
And learn.
Too many times now that we're in
This
games.
isn't your city.
Like maybe when we
We're here
were
to
when
evict you.
like it was
Another barrier.
less
Victor
populated with
really wants to
enemies.
keep us out.
The
Get your hands on a
the way
thermite
that the
RPG
melee
and take
kind
it
of
down.
tracks would be a little bit more
Stormfall,
acceptable, like in that regard. But
my
like,
children.
if you ask me, like
As you
now,
prepare to descend
if there's
from on
a
high,
bunch of things
take
around
a
you,
moment
like
to read
you
the
and I
prayers
say I
of
want to
Psalm,
focus on
which
one
you can, of
enemy.
course,
Good
find
luck.
on your credo
Good
card.
luck. Good luck.
We are not dying in a
If I
state of
wanted to go
sin
after,
today.
even to proc a particular like skill or something like that, good luck. Unless they're all by themselves. Then I'll hit them from the side and hit them from the back and not hit them at all and hit the guy next to them, hit the guy behind them, hit the guy on the other side of them. So here's what you can probably surmise from Victor, because this is one of those things too that I would say to people that if you're
And all
concerned
those
about
who would spread it,
us,
you have your
why is
orders.
that? Cat really doesn't want to survive, huh? What can I? What the? I'm sorry. I wanted to.
Don't look now, but you've got a Stormfall squad coming your way. Want to find out what their Thermian rockets will do to that thing's armor?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you almost have to wonder is like, why don't they just implement some of the Duviri? Because that's clearly like where that came from in its original state.
You are freaks. Terminally so. Your death will be a mercy.
Amir's getting strange readings from that tank. You better
Very
finish it off
good.
quick.
That's okay. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Like that's where you're at. It's like now all you do is do slam melee over and over again because there's just so many people around that it makes it's the most efficient way of doing it. But is that fun? No, not really.
Well, live and learn.
And then, like I said, the alternative with like another melee, or
Ugh.
different kind of
Looks
melee
like
weapon.
Victor forgot to update his
Pole
antivirus
arms do
software.
feel pretty good.
Now you've got to clean
Only
up his
because of
mess.
the way that they are,
Something
like
tells me that
naturally,
thing won't
but
like it if
by
you
their
pop its
nature,
zits.
not by, like they thrive in this type of environment where versus like. Don't bring Shade Prime with
Tech rot regeneration.
Zaku.
You'll need to find a way to make the
Mental
damage
note
stick.
because I can't see what's happening to my character. I think we are going back to Duviri. I really do. Did you even see? I liked a tweet from Stallard. I could totally get behind what he was posting. Without question, I could get behind that. I mean, and then there's that aspect. Tell me another game out there right now. You pick the game that's doing original music like Warframe. Like, sure, every single trailer I hear from every new game has some old rock song or, you know, some trap song, something like that I've heard in 10 other trailers, if not 100. But, you know, I'm saying that I'm not just saying when we're talking about Warframe's music that it's good music. I'm saying that I'm taking Warframe's music
in this town,
and I'm listening to it
you did good
in the
today.
car
Now, get yourself out of there.
after I'm done playing. I might be taking a shower and I have it on the radio or stereo, whatever you guys call it. Bluetooth speakers these days. I don't even know. See how old I am just from that. Like, I'm singing to these tunes, you know? Like, I have many times belted out at the top of my lungs the lyrics to Pick a Side or Party of Your Lifetime, The Great Despair, like, Lamenting the Days.
Are we gonna have a problem?
I'll definitely check it out because you're all hyping up Expedition 33's music pretty hard. So that's I'm gonna take your word for it, and I'll go. Yeah, Final Fantasy music just hits in all the right places, doesn't it? Yeah, Rotten Line. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, every new trailer has Ben Starr. Like, dude, whenever I was seeing the Marathon trailer, I'm like, Arthur, how did you get there? Is this Kaya's doing? Oh. If Fred's still in the comments, speaking of, I caught something. It just came back to my memory right now. Frank, I don't have the cape yet because I'm going to TennoCon. So I didn't know that I got to buy it too. I'm going to have to do that at some point. I wouldn't exactly say this was the best monetary month, so we're gonna. Oh no, what happened? Okay, who wants to do relics while we BS about Warframe? I'd take a galvanized rush mod. I mean, if you're looking to like increase speed, kind of like and the same thing with Duviri, yeah, hell yeah. I think that is one of the cool. Oh, Sleeping in the Cold Below. We All Live Together. Like these are songs that like that you don't have to be playing the game to enjoy. And again, it's not like they pulled it from some 70s album. Anything you want. Well, I mean, like I said, Final Fantasy has always been kind of the staple of video game music. Without question. I mean, it's just as far back as I can remember. I mean, they were Final Fantasy was really my first experience with what I would call true cinematic storytelling, because like Final Fantasy VII really like raised the bar in that regard with just the visuals. But then you had Final Fantasy VIII, where like the visuals, they jumped up so much from 7 to 8 that it took like a more of a cartoonish type look in 7. And I'm talking about the original, not the new one, obviously. And it just like, it was like a quantum leap into 8. And it like these people, at least in a lot of the Gemma, if you want to join back up again, feel free. My favorite Warframe update. Oh man, that's so hard. I would say it's 1999, and I'm going to explain why. But it's not, 1999 isn't my favorite place to be. Okay, I actually think, like the places that I want to go to and play, because I think they're interesting, my favorite is Entrati Labs. That's a huge one. The Zerman 10-0, I think, is just absolutely amazing. Duviri is actually quietly super creepy. Like, it doesn't look creepy in any way, shape, or form. In fact, depending on the cycle, it's meant to look so whimsical, if you will. Oh, for Narmer, how about that too? Like, then they do shit like that. I'm sorry, I know I'm going against the thing, what I was just saying, but you know, it's they just know how they for a studio that has people that seem to continually this is Murmur. Sorry. For a game that seems to keep the exact same group more or less throughout. Like, you either have to be incredibly lucky that all of those people that you are bringing in on the team not just are really good at their job, right? But also can all coexist together. Like, that's a big deal as far as when you're talking about just the aspect of these people, you just like family. You're with family long enough, like, you get into arguments about stuff, and it strains relationships, and these things can happen. But yet, like, the longevity of the same essential group speaks to something greater than just, I don't know, like, just pure luck. Like, it's almost like the people who Warframe was able to pick up are either just the most compatible people that have ever existed in all of the world, for the most part. I know there's been hiccups along the way. There's going to be hiccups along the way with everything. But either that, or these people have such an interest in the passions that they are putting out, their job, the work that they do, right? That it allows them to transcend any perceived problems and either work them out, amongst themselves in a quiet manner, or, to the point where, like, they're all kind of, hey, we're all in the same struggle. We all got problems, whatever, however you want to look at it. Again, you tell me. I don't know how you're able to do that. I've not heard of a company that does that in today's world.
How much metal's in your body? I do.
Oh, there were two questions. I'll answer them real quick here. Favorite update, like I said, would have to be 1999, just because of the fact that it was so broad in the way of its addition to the story. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the kinematic system, but like I have to tell you that the kinematic system is, for lack of a better term, it's no different than a codex. It's just an active codex. So, and what to me, being someone who, for what I do for the game and for the channel, has to read about lore and things like that, it actually added a dynamic that was really refreshing in the fact that, like, the story engaged me and allowed me to be a part of it, versus me just being an observer of everything that was happening. Does that make sense? I guess I'm gonna really, I mean, Expedition 33 is literally, it comes with Game Pass, so. I have heard great things. I have heard really great things. I can't say that I haven't. Also, from what I've seen, it seems to almost mimic in ways. And for those who've played it, like, stop me if I'm wrong on this one, but I see a lot of Final Fantasy 15 in Expedition 33. If you've played Final Fantasy 15, like, I think Final Fantasy 15's story is a fantastic story. Like, and it's ultra sad at the end. Like, it is a wonderful, wonderful tale. You know, I know it got a lot of hate, and maybe I was just fortunate enough to have played Final Fantasy 15. I didn't play it like right at the beginning, like when it came out, so I missed a lot of the growing pains that it had per se. But like after playing like the version that I got to play, oh my god. So I would say they mimic each other very much in the look of the game. They look extremely similar. I would say they have a very similar feel in the kind of active turn-based combat thing where, yeah, it is turn-based, but like you're not just sitting there waiting and looking to do spells and stuff. Like there's things that are actively going on that you are engaging in combat wise that kind of mimicked like a lot of that, like the parrying mechanic and stuff that I saw in Expedition 33. Plus, like, what's really cool, what I think is, it's a lifetime story. Like, you don't get a lot of those type of things in the fact that the story of Final Fantasy 15 follows a group of people over the course of their, like, existence. And you don't get to just, like, live their, or, like, see their memories. You're a part of their lives for a very, very long period of time. And dare I say, you're an active part of their existence. You know, you make choices with them, and you kind of go along with them, and you deal with like the truths that they uncover and the hardships that they deal with and the people that they trusted that turned on them, and like the fact, like especially the very end when they learn the truth of the matter and what, you know, what's really going down, and like the very end is an extremely emotional and powerful, not the very end too, but there's this point before the final battle where the groups, where this group of individuals kind of come together, if you will, and it's it's tough. Again, and no, it's gonna be it's gonna be uh, uh, everybody's gonna have their own take on things as it is for um what they like and didn't like. But to me, I just see a lot of it, and I mean, if you really want to, I would actually look at that as a glowing endorsement on a game that I haven't even played. If I see Final Fantasy in a game, I'm interested in a game. Does that make sense? And dare I say, like, I think it's one of the things that the new storytelling that we're finding in a lot of media nowadays is really missing out of. That this might be hard to believe, but at the end of the day, I don't know if there's a game or a series of games. I mean, I think to me, it hit hardest. I know this is going to be weird, but it hit hardest to me in Dark Souls 3. I know there's probably people, if you play, you're like, what? What story did that? Hear me out. One of the things that I believe that new storytelling is really missing is the pain of loss. Dark Souls 3, in my opinion, is incredibly sad because at the end of the day,
Collected enough reactant to open your relic.
there is no happy ending. And throughout the course of the story, the people that you meet, all of them, will all go away. And at the very end, you're left alone. And like, to me, that's such a sad thing because you can see during the quest that like characters like Henri and stuff that were clinging to Orson because there just wasn't anything left in the world to really cling to. That like, we really did come to a point where like it all was going away and there's really nothing that anybody can do about it anymore. That somewhat embodied in a similar way by what Melina compels the tarnished in Elden Ring, if they are considering the path of the three fingers and chaos and the flame of frenzy, that she at that moment kind of offers like a singular last-ditch ask to say, look, like, I know that things aren't perfect here, but like, there's still good in this place. Like, we don't have to destroy it. We don't have to get rid of it. And it's like a plea, like a really sad plea. And I feel that same thing in Dark Souls, but the only difference is there's nobody that's pleading anymore. Like, the world was created under corruption with the idea of the flame. And because of that, it was always doomed to die, right? But it doesn't make it fair that the people who just had to be there because of the sake of having to be there have to have, their existence that they've had, they forged a path through. That their struggle means nothing because of the corrupt or, you know, faulty foundations that this thing was on, and that it just, to me, that always just seemed to be so sad to me in again, crazy enough, Dark Souls 3. But it just, at the end, nobody's left. Like, everybody you meet goes away. And I don't mean like goes to another place, like they all die. And like I said, to me, it's an incredibly sad thing. And it's something that I think that when you talk about today's media and bringing people back to life and stuff like that after they've been dead for, you know, God knows how long, you really lose that aspect of the story, that emotional gut punch. And I say that because of, you know, going back to the concept of Final Fantasy 15. If you know what the story, I'm not going to go to the end. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but you want to talk about an emotional gut punch, you will get it at the end. But you're going to get it hard. And it's funny, Aim Paradox, that you say this, because that's, to me, hear me out for a second. You know, in the context of Warframe, the Lotus is, for lack of a better term, the Lotus is immortal, right? Space Mom will always be there. But unfortunately, Rebecca is not going to always want to do this. And unfortunately, I do think that the story is heading in the path of Dark Souls 3. And I think sacrifice is going to be a major theme within the Warframe story moving forward. And we may see a lot of old, you know, people that were in the story no longer there. Sacrificed, maybe in front of our eyes. Well, I mean, Yum Lemming, unfortunately, that is a mindset of the moment every single time somebody says it, because life changes very fast. Real life, not Warframe life. And like I said, with what we saw kind of at the Lotus Eaters, and I think in other scenarios, like when we're talking about the greater Warframe story, I think you're going to start seeing people begin to go away, because that's exactly what happens in a war. And what's interesting is for the most part, if you really think about it, the vast majority of the, well, think about it in these terms. Warframe has already had a moment like this. We just weren't there to see it. Think about all the characters that we know about from the past that never made it to the story because the collapse took it from them, took their place within the story of Warframe. And that's what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that like Rebecca's planning on leaving next month or next year, but I am saying that if if you trust me at all in how I perceive the story of Warframe and how it moves forward in the future, then believe me when I tell you that whether or not they do it, there is ample evidence that the Lotus will not be in the Warframe story at a future point. When that will be, it all depends, because again, you never know what's going to be stuck into certain things. We have two very distinct scenarios. One showing the man in the wall, well, the men in the wall, yes, or the people in the wall, depending on your character. Regardless, at the end of the Whispers in the Wall, crushing a Lotus, purple, and then you have the idea of the way that the Lotus is depicted during the... Well, I'll go a couple things further. I mean, you could even go back further. You can go into the New War and what happened at the end of that and how that... The end is all really funny and everything else. But then you could go, if you wanted to, you could take a step further than that. And I mean, I still have yet to see a clean version of Angels in the Zariman's opening, so I'm going to hold off what I'm saying until I actually do. But the beginning of Angels in the Zariman for me was like a horror show, pure and simple. Like I said, it was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. I know it's a bug, but I still don't understand why the one smiley face is even looking at me. Why are you even there? Well, I mean, again, my whole point is that one, I don't. It's all predicated on what you think, who you think said we were going to Tal. Because I would make the argument very simply that now that the man in the wall already exists within Duviri, right, has found his way into 1999, is embedded deep within the origin system, that if the man in the wall's goal was to continue increasing his territory, that the next most likely target would be the vaunted Tau. So if that turns out to be true, then are we really going to Tau for the right reasons if we even go? Well, but did she come right back, really? Nobody else notices a difference in the behavior of the Lotus pre and post New War? I mean, it's pretty severe, if you ask me. Especially when you take into consideration the Nata variant. The new Lotus is about as passive a creature as you can see, which the Lotus herself has never been. She may have been, directing things from behind the scenes, but she was always very, very active in trying to push the story forward. And after the New War, especially after her real tiny piece in Angels of the Zariman, where she essentially says, "Hey Tenno, something weird's happening there. That's your home. You should go check it out."
Your relic is open.
We really don't see much from her again until Lotus Eaters. And if anybody tells me that they think that Lotus Eaters is a Lotus that's acting normal, based on what? Yeah, but Hunhowl doesn't explain what the mark is. That's the question. Like, say we take the man in the wall at his word, right? Say we just do that for a second. Because, after all, the man in the wall distinctly describes Albania as hell within the quest, does he not? So let's just take the man in the wall at his word, right? Let me go back a little bit. Let me add one little piece of information to that. Let's first also add into the very important context of Albert Entrati's extreme fascination with the arcane and the spiritual. Then, oh, you know what? Maybe can we go back? I got 10 out of 10. I'm good. Then, let's take into consideration the idea that there is, well, I hear it. There is, curiously enough, this just really out of place chair with a summoning circle around it, right in front of the vessel that the man in the wall occupies during the Whispers in the Walls. And then let me ask you, and I've asked this a couple times of the chat all weekend, in fact. Is it possible that the reason why scientists, all amazing Orican scientists who had conquered other scientific fields of incredible nature, first and foremost the medical aspect of things, and the fact that Lloyd was able to literally rebuild Entrati, that is an exceptional advancement in medicine. So you have a galaxy of scientists. Yep, that sounds good to me. You have a galaxy of scientists that when they look at the void, it's just weird that they don't see anything. There's nothing there. There's nothing in the void. But it's probably because the scientists weren't using the right language. They weren't using the right lens to see what was in the void. It's not science within the void. And then you start to think the void itself may be an aspect of a cosmic entity. I'm talking the void, all of it. That furthermore, Entrati willingly called here, summoned to this place, all because he couldn't accept his own failure as a scientist. And he hated himself for it. And then you start to really consider that everything within the Warframe universe that has any aspect of void associated with it may be, ready? What the indifference was specifically referring to during the Hex Quest. Those that took of its flesh and did not ask. And then I would say, if that be the case, the concept of who the man on the wall may want retribution against expands to an exceptional degree. If you've ever utilized the void in making a weapon, if you've ever utilized the void in traveling to another place without asking the god of this place, are you possibly in some serious doo-doo now? And are you in some serious doo-doo now? Because you did not understand what you were talking to, that you were using, that you were given this false bill of goods to tell you that this method of energy and travel is 100%. This is just an energy source, guys. Check it out. Look what it can do. Meanwhile, you were lied to. That this isn't an energy source in any conventional sense. That the energy that comes from it is merely the gift that's essentially asked by you, or by who originally asked the thing. Oh wait, here it is right here. Someone destroyed the chair. I don't think I've ever seen the chair destroyed. Is it maybe because Entrati's here, like somebody came by and was like, oh shit, nobody's been summoning people recently, I might as well put the chair away. Here, we'll put it back over here where it belongs, over here with the other furniture type thing. And I mean, I would argue that there is one being in all of Warframe who has, well, I should say there is one in all of Warframe who was our only hope. But unfortunately, I don't think, well, I don't know. We may find out. I'm hoping and praying. I even put a little text to it. Just said, Garmy, buddy, hold on, man. Hold on just a little bit longer. We're coming. We're coming for you, pal. We're coming to help. We're coming. The cavalry's on the way, buddy. The only thing I've ever seen in all of Warframe that stares the indifference down. Oh no! You broke the chair! Don't worry about it. The Necromites will come back. Believe me, if someone wants to summon, they'll figure out a way here. What if, Frank, the Void, that's just what was asked of it? I mean, don't you think it's odd that the Tenno's gifts, their abilities that they were given, right? Don't you think it's strange that it just kind of fit the scenario just freaking perfect? Like, wow, wowee! You have the power to take on all the stuff that I've just created for you to get in your way. How nice. Well, see, I think that's who, I think at least at some point, right? And I do believe that where we're headed with this story with Rel is that, unfortunately, I think he had more of the indifference in him than others did. How's that?
I owe you a drink for that.
And there's a reason, I think, for that. But also because of the nature of how he has the void and his own innate curse, gift. It's interesting when you really get down to it. If it wasn't one of those things that comes with the whole Zen master story. That some things that you believe are deficiencies turn out to be the greatest weapon that one can have. It all depends on the context of the story, really. And dare I say that Garmy, the tie to the version of Rel that trapped himself in the Warframe, which I think was with Entrati's help, because obviously how else would they get a Warframe? But remember, it was Rel who willingly chained himself into, or at least had himself chained into the Warframe. And you would ask yourself, well, how can one operator chaining themselves into the Warframe
The relic has been
have
cracked
be
open.
so,
Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
let's say, effective? It's just one Tenno. There's so many. But, of course, we know that Rel, well, he saved us. All of us. At least that's what Paladina said. One Tenno versus, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I even put a comment on some of these things. Like, it's only going to take like 40 guys to beat the gorilla, everybody. Now, I'm not saying there's not going to be some catastrophic injuries there. It's gonna. But everybody's treating these gorillas like they are Uzaru, I mean, from DBZ, and that's not the case. These creatures are enormous. The amount of energy that it requires for them to move their huge bodies in small spurts would be devastating. Like the first 10 guys in, yeah, they're probably gonna get real messed up. But that gorilla's gonna get tired real fast. And then it's gonna basically be defenseless. Okay, so the Tau system could be coming. That is definitely a possibility. If it comes, I actually think that it's not going to be in the concept by which everybody seems to want that. Like I said, I think it's the exact opposite. Like, if we're talking about being... If we are actually in this world, right, and we're trying to save the universe, the galaxy, the multiverse, well, if the gorilla turns Super Saiyan 4, that's different, because now we're not talking about a gorilla, we're talking about a Saiyan. That's different. 100 humans versus a Saiyan we've already seen in DBZ. The Saiyan wins. That's different. That's not a gorilla. So, getting back to the Tau thing, okay, at the end of Whispers in the Wall, or I mean, at the end of the Hex Quest, you're asked a question that most people have just kind of, I feel like they've just kind of skated over, because it was so far back that they don't even remember the context of why they saw this in the first place. And that I'm referring specifically to it doesn't matter. The very end of our the finale of the Hex. Let me ask you all a question. What do you think the Kalimo sequence was meant to do? So my problem is, even if the Super Saiyan 4 gorilla grows a tail, right? Because I know where you're going with this. We chop the tail off and maybe we're in better shape, right? But the problem is it's still Saiyan. So they have like they are efficiency, like human level efficiency, muscle-wise, times, a couple 100 million, depending on what variation of the Saiyan that you're looking at. And don't get me wrong, like, I was actually watching a video today, someone make a really good point. Like, there are no animals, or at least none that I can think of readily, that jog for 2, 3, 4 hours straight for their own amusement. Which in itself places the human being as one of the most efficient machines, natural, biological machines, if you will, that has ever been, derived in all the world. But then you have the Saiyans, and now you're looking at human beings. Well, I think I think the Kalimo sequence is actually completely clear myself. That's just me. Melanin? Yeah, I think there is something there. All right. So, let me ask you a question. Would you all agree with the concept that it was not Entrati who enacted the Kalimo sequence, but some precept or some protocol within the Palm 2? Damn, that's fast.
All over quite now.
That's true. They'll be like, wait, where's this, wait, there's 100 versus one gorilla? This is a fight? Where does this fight? Did they remove it? Okay, so if we take into consideration the concept that the Palm 2 was the one that initiated the original Kalimo sequence, and then we take into consideration what we learned during the 1999 ARG, in the fact that the indifference is in fact at least partially influencing the eye and the Palm 2 and all that stuff, at least at some points. At least at some points. We can't definitively say it's like 100% all the time, right? But we can certainly speculate that that's the possibility. And what I would say is, given the fact that it would seem extremely likely that, and I'm just going off the context of Whispers of the Walls now, understand. When the Tenno show up at the Palm 2, and they prove, quote unquote, that they are the necessary entity for the Kalimo sequence to move forward. The Kalimo sequence doesn't move forward in the way that Lloyd, at that point, at least expected it would. Would you agree with that? Oh no, I think the sequence is complete. That's the problem. Keep following me here. I'm gonna lead y'all where it's gotta be. Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, but but understand that there's another level. There's another level that even Lloyd himself says that the systems in the Entrati's labs, they can't differentiate between Albrecht and the Indifference anymore. What I'm essentially saying is, based upon what Lloyd says, that the Indifference interfered, the murmur interfered with the transference stream. So essentially the idea was the Tenno was just supposed to transfer into the vessel. And I'm guessing at that point would kind of see, oh, hey, look, I'm in the vessel now. This is weird. But this is what Entrati wanted, because at the end of the day, we know that Entrati is looking at the vessels as kind of his warframes, and he wants an operator to be able to, use them for their full capability. And we see this because in the, even within the Hex quest at the very end, the proto frames are good. But when the power of the operator comes into play, they become that much greater. They get that additional boost, right? Well, we were talking about not human, but earthly gorillas. But I suppose this discussion could move to gorilla-looking legocytes as well. Well, I'll do you one better. I don't think that either entity at the end of the Hex finale is who they claim to be. I mean, after all, they were kind of both shown to already have been influenced by the Indifference in one way, shape, or form. First, that particular vessel that was only used by the Man on the Wall up to this point. That's important. But also, something else that I thought was very interesting. That, one of the viewers of the channel, they haven't been around in quite some time, unfortunately. I don't know if I did something to upset them, but PG had kind of shown that essentially that. Hold on. Excuse me 1 second, guys. Cover me.
And see.
Whoop, sorry. Okay, I'm back.
That's it.
So,
You opened the relic. Finish your mission.
long
and
story
take a
short,
look
they
inside.
were the ones that kind of originated this idea. But like, the idea is that right there, we see this two-finger salute, right? Let me ask you all, have we seen the two-finger salute from any character in Warframe? Before anybody answers, I just want to answer that real quick and say, yes, there is a I don't want to say the word, but because it's going to give it away. I think we're missing why the sequence was enacted. See, if we can make the argument that the sequence may have not been begun by Entrati, right? Then I think in the same breath we can make the argument that the sequence was utilized as a guarantee to get around a particular inconvenience that the Indifference had experienced. There it is, Floppy. You got it. Now, we know that online actually has a lot of significant language alluding to the idea that a smiling one is really in control of the band. Themselves calling it management. And given that now we're not talking about DJ ROM anymore, because DJ ROM is probably encased in some kind of cryo sleep, or if nothing else, is just in a perpetual room, getting, I guess, room service, and I don't know. I don't even know how they're doing what they're doing, that the online boys are still actually like alive and technically sort of themselves, but the codas that we're getting are like aspects of them, but transformed, right? And given that it's those exact things that are essentially, you know, catalysts, and for a lot of better term, lack of better term. Okay, you want to just get out now? We can just get out if yeah, if Gemma wants to get out, we'll get out. We'll start another one. We'll start freshy fresh. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, but online, the coda is not online. And I don't think that they rescued them. They just have kind of come to an understanding of where they are and that they are okay.
Mission complete.
Physically.
Excellent work, Tenno.
Oh, I can stay. Yeah, who else wants? Can we let somebody else in?
With your courage and our expertise, we hold the line.
And understand, I think that there's a very significant difference between the entity who's kind of in charge of, or the concept of the connection of the smiling one with the online scenario. Lizzie is not the same thing. And we've seen multiple aspects of Helminth that don't necessarily all follow the same leader, if you will. I know, I can't wait to see the new Murmur in Duviri. What? Gemma, no, you didn't suck. That's the whole point of this thing, is just to have fun. Hopefully you got a couple pieces. That's all that matters, that you actually need it. Oop, okay. Who wants to join again now? Feel free to join in. We can get a whole new group if necessary, and if there's not enough new people, then we can fill in with those who already tried. So, getting back to kind of the concept here, if you are okay with the idea of the Palm 2 having an indifference, at least at some aspect, corruption, then you start looking into all the little, for lack of a better term, there's just too many little coincidences going on. Especially with how the indifference was brought here. That to me is one of the it's just weird to me that the Palm 2 makes mention of it, that like it knows that the indifference is here now due to a specific event. Okay, we got it. We have room for one more. And if you want to, feel free to take up that last spot. First come, first served.
Come on. Let's at least pretend this mess can still work.
Like, at the end of the day, what does it even say about Lloyd? Like, where are we at with him? We know the indifference had, touched him or made a copy. Hey, little demon. Right?
Bird 3. What I wouldn't give for some of that.
Oh, you know what? Is there a navigation thing here?
Must make the best of
I know there's one for, like, this area, but... Oh. Hello, Ollie. I keep forgetting about that. I should have went back to the orbiter, but it didn't. All right, well, I guess we'll do...
We've had a few.
Well, see...
But we are going to crack on.
There's room for one more. That sounds like the end of what is it from Disney World, the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, I think I screwed up, everybody. I do apologize. I think I messed up here. Cause we can't technically do another relic until I go home. So let me go home and we'll get back. Everybody get back in. Let me go home real quick. Thank you for the friend request. Okay, sorry. Here, come into my game if you would. It'll be a lot easier. Everybody that was just in there, if you wouldn't mind. Well, I know. I think everybody wants to do some relics, and also I will tell you the relics are actually nicer for me because I don't have to flip between missions over and over again, and I can just sit there and like roll off long streams of consciousness, if you will. So everybody that was in there, feel free to just jump back in and we will get right back into another one. I can't remember who was all in the last group. I apologize. I think Synth Demon was, right? Who else? I think it was Royo Boya was too, right? Please, if I'm wrong, don't hate me. Okay. Murmur's more fun. Oh no, who left? Jump back in. Oh, okay. I think we are going to get a lich of some sort. That being said, I would caution everybody, especially with what we saw this year, if this update is large, there's probably a pretty good chance that we're not going to get the Murmur Coda or whatever they're going to do, or Murmur Lich, until the first like update after the fact. Like I just see that's probably what's going to happen. Oh, thank you, Graham. I appreciate that. We'll get you in then for one. That was very cool. Yeah, what if like the Murmur Liches are Void Angels? Like we have to go hunt them. That would be cool. Gemma, you have just had your first run into what a survival is truly all about. Who are we waiting on here? Take your time. I was just curious. The really fun survivals are the regular nodes where the enemies just keep going up. And that was like, I think that's actually survivals where I originally fell in love with Warframe. Like when I first picked it up and I downloaded it, playing a little bit, I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like it feels good. Like it's got some good gunplay. Okay, I can get behind this. All the movement's fun. The weapons are they're pretty good. They feel good if nothing else. They don't look because I was in the beginning and you're just basically have like a Bratton and something like that, so it didn't look too crazy. But yeah, this is cool, man, right? But that's like everything just kind of begins to change after, for me at least, after I got into my first like survival, and it was just a random group of people, right? But for whatever reason, like just nobody was backing down on that day. So every time somebody was like pushed forward, the other three right away, bang. It was like everybody was just. It was like an unspoken connection between all of the people. Nice, good. As long as I don't have to do shit, that's all. But it was like this unspoken thing, and we were all down, and it was like a 2-hour tour. And I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've experienced, and I can't even tell you how long. I was like, this can happen randomly? You're telling me this happens randomly? And that was the day that I fell in love with Warframe. I'll take Scoundrel Liches. Heck, we could even, what if it was like, our Scoundrel Liches are actually like corrupted variants of Ruzalka. Like every single one's a clone, but like a different type of like mentality. Ooh, even like what if Ruzalka like kind of like made that connection there with her own Lich set, in that like she had 5 different variants, each one like beholden to a different emotional state. Oh yeah, you're right. The Void Angel Lich could be our own parents, right? It is pretty messed up when you think about it. Damn! They put these kids through hell, dude. Thanks, Lotus. You sound mighty indifferent. So state that to you, my dear. If I didn't know better. That's right. Now, I mean, like I said, for me, the story, when I began, it was just, this would have been just don't know if it was just before or just after the War Within. That's whenever I started Warframe. I think it might have been just before. And I don't get me. I mean, I enjoyed the story, but because I was so new into the game, I wasn't gonna get to the cool shit for a while, right? The story related stuff, but I'll never forget that. Like, it was just one of these organic moments in a video game that, regardless if I wanted to love Warframe or not, like, it grabbed me by the haunches and humped me into submission. Do you understand what you know the reference there? It's just like
I
dodgeball.
look at it, and I want to spit or split. That thing's wrong. Capital W wrong.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not you. It's wearing your skin, but it's not you. Kill it!
Wait, is he wearing my skin? I didn't open the book, did I? I didn't do anything. Piss off, Wally. Oh, now you made it personal. Yeah, but he's coming after me. That's what I'm saying.
It's not dead.
I didn't even do
You
anything.
have to kill the smell of it. Understand?
Your emotions are misplaced, my friend. Well, yeah, that isn't my Tenno, but he's having a good old time. It is cool ass music. Where's the book? Of course, because it is part. It is a fragment after all, you know?
That thing is back, walking around in a new body.
You don't think that there's a specific reason why Wally is so enticing to everybody?
Okay, you have to hunt it now. Find what it doesn't want you to find.
When you are ready to return, the sanctum is waiting for you.
Yes, that, there, the book. That's its real body.
Sorry, I just wanted to see that up close. Pretty awesome. We talked about Balsamo. We talked about this last night on the memberships. Oh, fried clams, Jim? Nice. Good job. I would assume just by the basic human nature that yes, Dark Tenno exists, but I'll do you one better in that what I'm really concerned about, what I'm really worried about, is if there are former Orokin who use continuity to get into a Tenno child. And the only reason why I say why I think that's even more concerning is that twice we know of instances of people trying to do just that. And to me, the fact that it was tried twice seems to insinuate that, oh. Shame I don't have titanium on. Titanium on, been a lot easier to see. So cool. But seems to insinuate that somebody was successful? At least one person, or why would they try? Why would they try multiple times? I would even argue that there's a misconception specifically with what happens in the beginning of our journey. That's weird. I see you too, buddy. In that, you know, there's this thing that Vor is looking for our Warframe, right? And wants to present our Warframe to the queens. But I would make the argument that had the queen shown up, or I should say, had Vor shown up to the queen's domain with our Warframe, she would have said the exact same thing that she said to Teshin. I don't want this. I need the kid. So, what I'm trying to get at is it does seem like there is some kind of secrecy behind the whole continuity with an operator, but enough people seem to be privy to it and are still trying it that makes me believe that others at some point, you know, otherwise there wouldn't be a precedent set. And so I wonder if down the road at some point we won't come to find like that if we meet another Tenno in game, like not like an NPC type Tenno, like that it's a character, if you will, that in itself won't potentially even be Orkin in nature versus
The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
like indifference. Well, see, that's another thing I think a lot of people would like to see is us go back to, if we're going to go back in time, boy, it sure would be pretty damn cool to go back and see the Orkin Society when it was functioning. I like, there's so many answers right there about a great many things, you know, like, you name it. We'd get so much additional context to the game. Because in the grand scheme of things, Warframe is the story of the failed Orkin Society. I mean, they were the acting force upon the universe and created essentially every aspect of what we're dealing with, be it good or bad, you know? I mean, they created the Warframes, you know, they facilitated the, now, I mean, I still think at one point they actually did create the infestation, but if nothing else, they facilitated its use in so many different scenarios. Oh, you guys don't like this one. This is a very unique Wally. You don't get this this view too frequently. You ready? I think you'll like it. Have you seen him? Especially with the eye up top. Like, almost looking like the Eye of Horus, if you will.
Your necromech will be waiting at the designated dispenser. You may fire when ready.
Floppy, yeah, I would say yes. That's exactly a part of it. The difference is it's not all of it. I think you could go two ways with it. I think you could say, one, that like we are talking about the Orkin who specifically like enacted like rituals and stuff like that specific for, let's say, their power that they got, be it void travel or energy or, you know, whatever, continuity, whatever you want to get out of it. Like, it's up to you, right? But there's also, you know, the case that anybody that's used it, even in the case of like someone who had no, like, just was taking a, you know, hey, interstellar bus ride. I didn't know. Hey, I was chilling here and I'm looking up the kinematic online. variation, 10 million, version 40 billion type thing in the future. And I noticed that they were offering free trips to Uranus. And I wanted to see Uranus so bad. I've been dying to see Uranus. My whole life, I've wanted to just see Uranus. And I get this opportunity. I don't know why. No, I didn't notice your gun name. But so you have a situation where it could be that granular. Like, if you use my power and I didn't give it to you, I don't give a crap what it's for. That counts. So we're kind of just in the... Now that we are gaining more context into the deal, even though we still don't have a lot of it, I mean, barely any context, really. Only a very specific phrase, I would say. I'm not going to get more into it. I think I've made my point this stream already. But, it's very, especially, it's not a good thing. I don't know if anybody else caught the connotation here, but it's never a good thing for a cosmic entity to get emotion. That shouldn't happen. Cosmic entities, by definition, should be indifferent. For the same reason that ants' lives mean nothing to us as human beings. It should be in such an insignificant speck of a thing that there should be no reason why an entity of such power, of such grandeur, of expanse should even contemplate on the idea of a being of such little, such small, tiny things. Right? We can keep going. I'm talking about the planet, everybody. Come on, I figured that was obvious. I guess what I'm saying is it's not out of the question that the indifference has seen has now been made privy to an existence that by all rights has taken from it without its permission. But I think you could also make the case that at this point, what it's found within this place now that it's here, it kind of likes it and doesn't want to go back. Not to mention that, like I said, what's really concerning is that it may have taken on the concept of allowing emotion to dictate aspects of its behavior. And I can't tell you how I'm going to throw the F-bomb down because it needs to be said. I can't tell you how fucking dangerous that is. The people within Bloodborne know all too well. It doesn't matter anymore if the indifference was right or wrong. Okay? Unfortunately, that's the case. Because it's almost assured that if you take the indifference's side, you are essentially aligning with the idea of everything coming back to it. Reintegration, ending as it began, and now becoming essentially all. seeing a world that had no understanding, or not necessarily an understanding, but no idea existed. And now looking at it and saying, well, you know, I'll take it all because I can. I'm gonna have a really, really fun time at Barreau this come weekend, man. Woo! So, that's an interesting question here. Are there characters that are aware? That's something I'm actually going to be going over here in my next video. It doesn't seem like there's characters aside from the Hex who understand, but it does seem like some characters are questioning things. How's that? And so, something that I will postulate to all of you here is what happens in Halvania during the cycle where people are somehow, like, say one cycle occurred and Letitia, who's been a big advocate of this within the Kinamandic already, has brought this point up to us as to the Drifter a couple times, that this existence is in itself a kind of prison, you know, in that, you know, nothing matters. Nothing matters. Whatever you do, it just gets reset. So even if you know, especially for, say someone like one of the inhabitants of a Halvania right now, picture this. You are a resident of Halvania. You know, you've just kind of brought in for the first time in a while. You kind of feel safe, right? And you know, you're on your own, and you're kind of just struggling to just kind of get your bearings within the mall, because it's just a conglomeration of a bunch of people, you know, just of all different walks of life, and you know, not really understanding much, you know, just as confused as you. And so you look across the way and you notice a person. You smile, just, you know, little brief smile. And they smile at you back, innocently enough. But within that smile, a connection is formed. And over the coming days, you start to kind of make your way over to them. You figure out little stupid things, ways that you can kind of integrate yourself into their place in the mall, to kind of talk to them, and you know, just get to see what's up, right? So you get to see what's up. Where the hell is everybody? Where am I? Ah, okay. And as the days keep going, you get to know this person, and you come to find, you know, I like them. I like them a lot. And who knows, maybe you start to have a relationship, something that you didn't even think was possible in this new world with Halvania and everything else that's going on, right? In the infested everywhere, and like, you've now been given, in ways, you've been given a new lease on life. You know, maybe life isn't going to be so bad anymore. You know, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel right here, and so you cling to that. And who knows, maybe that relationship starts to be even better than you ever dreamed. You know, you start calling each other soulmates. You know, you get to that point in your existence. And it feels like that in a lot of ways. Who knows, maybe you start even finishing each other's sentences and doing all those little cute things that everybody always seems to, you know, value so much when they see it in other people's relationships, right? And then, as we inch closer and closer to 1999's end, you know, you start to, you know, get the idea that, like, maybe even, you know, this could be something that we can start a family, and, you know, actually start making an existence.
That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission. And
Trying to
take a
get
look
back to
inside.
something that it's just close to normal. And then 1999 happens, and you wake up, and you don't remember a damn thing. Can you imagine, even though you have turned back time, I would imagine there's still an emotional stain that would stay with you. Now imagine, especially if the person that you were kind of coming into contact with, right? Imagine that they now catch your eye again, right? And catch your eye, and you guys start over, and you start to have that relationship again. And maybe this time different choices are made, but these times the choices make the relationship even stronger because there's like this air of familiarity, you know, like when you're together, you're with each other, you're just like, God, I feel so comfortable when I'm in your presence, you know, it's almost uncanny, if you will. And you form a brand new relationship again. And then 1999 comes at the end and it robs you of it again. Now say this happens a couple times, 5 times, 7 times, 10 times. And every time, whereas you don't remember any bit of it, you come away with just a little bit more sad, if you will, with the upcoming spiral. But the good thing is you still meet these people, right? So that's something to look forward to, if nothing else. But then imagine one day, as I was mentioning before, Letitia comes. You know, the person who's been helping with everybody there, cleaning wounds and getting medical supplies together and really like kind of keeping people together. Heck, you may even live in the strand of Kra where Kaya abandoned her desire to leave 1999 and instead becomes a kind of helper, finding her place as a healer almost, and someone who's for the people, almost living for the people. You come to find that Letitia, now completely driven, almost mad by guilt, has to talk to somebody about it. Has to talk to somebody. I got a chance to get it off of her chest. Because it's been 15 cycles now. And she just happens to, unfortunately by the fates, pass by you in a moment of vulnerability. And let slip the most crucial secret in all of Halvania. And if you are, say, one of those people who had those feelings, especially with any kind of lingering emotion or deja vu even, that would probably may be very common, you know, in this particular scenario. All at once you may come to an epiphany that nothing is real and that all of these things are occurring, and even though they are, you have no access to them and they're being erased, and this feeling, this thing that was kind of giving you hope is nothing more than a pipe dream. What I would ask is, if within that spiral, would it not be, let's say, possible or even probable that certain members of the common folk around 1999, if given wind of it, would start themselves going kind of mad in their own right? And potentially doing some horrific things. Because after all, it's not like there's any type of consequences. If I, as a resident of Duviri,
That's it. You opened the relic.
murder
Finish your mission
all
and take a
of
look
the people
inside.
within Helvania Mall, given what I know, would it not be safe to assume that once the spiral returns again, that they'll all just come right back? I want to thank the people in the game right now for keeping it going and being awesome and letting me talk. This is really wonderful stuff. So thank you again. The point of what I've kind of been trying to present here is that, like, the stakes are bigger now than I feel like they've ever been in Warframe. And the worst part is it... Let me ask you, if in fact Entrati's desire was to stay hidden from the indifference in a place that he himself sent himself to and made sure nobody else could get there, why would he want us to go there and get him? What purpose would it serve? And what I would say is it not more feasible that the Kalima sequence was enacted for the specific purpose of finding Entrati? Not to save him, but to find him. Which, of course, the Indifference does within the Hex quest. And, of course, we were the ones who made it possible. Essentially, the Void hitching a ride off of us in the Whispers of the Walls into 1999. If you don't believe that, play the quest over again. Go to the back of the subway versus going to the front of it. And you'll know what you brought into 1999. I'll even make the argument that there's enough time that has passed, right? That it's within that singular moment that it occurs, and that by the time that we get back to Entrati on the escalator coming down, he's already got him. It is already too late. All the little, like, actions that happened before it with, you know, Howie speaking to Arthur and everything else, all of it being kind of distraction for what needed to happen next. Because it is funny, during that part, if you as Arthur, now I understand it's a gameplay thing, but it's so interesting that if you as Arthur tried to ascend the escalator during the Whispers of the Walls, you can't do it. And there's a very specific thing that keeps you from doing it. It's not like it's just like a thing that stops, like an area you can't be in that reloads or anything else. Oh no. There's a very specific wall that keeps you from getting up. And Floppy, that's a great thing that you say there, because check this out. Eleanor herself makes the exact the exact plane to us. Indifference wins in the friend. Indifference wins in the end, my friend. Or did she say indifference always wins in the end, my friend? Because on a long enough timeline, yeah, you can make the argument that indifference always wins in the end.
The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
I mean, again, we were talking about that earlier, somehow integrating the Duviri mechanic into the origin system and using the warframes. Yes. I want to be so fast. I want to be so fast that fast people, compared to fast people, they're not so fast. Pocket sand. Exact same thing that we see in the very beginning of the Whispers of the Walls, literally speaking to us. You know? I would assume in ways the Techrot should understand. Because, hear me out. If Flair gets it, then Lizzie should get it. Now, you could probably make the argument of, like, not all of the Techrot gets it, because it does appear as though the Techrot does have different, like, controlling entities, you know, Helmint and some other, and, you know, obviously other things. And you know that Helmint doesn't control everything, because during the stage defense, which is, I find this so interesting, during the stage defense, when you go down into the bottom section, not only is Flair and Lizzie attacked by Scaldra, but the Techrot joins the party as well against them. So even in that regard, there is Techrot against Techrot. I think the main thing with the Techrot and the infestation is just to remember that you can never, like, classify the whole as one, because they don't function that way. There's at least from evidence within game, there are multiple, like, hive mind like entities or aspects of them that dictate behavior amongst specific groups and such. Now, is there a like underlying tie, like they all show up at, like, kind of the infested boardroom meeting once a year and you know, kind of figuratively, obviously, and, like, report on what they've done for the greater good? That's possible. And I would say if the man on the wall has in fact infected the Techrot that it's come into contact with the void in a kind of corrupted way, that will be the future of how at least that aspect of the Techrot functions. I'm not opposed to having rocket-powered Goth with everything either, though, dude. Remember, one of the things that I love about the Duviri is the just badass speed. Pure, unadulterated, badass speed. Well, there's another piece. Again, I don't know if it's really tough to call on Entrati for anything, because there's these little, we don't know who we've seen yet. And I'm going to give you what I mean by that. Like, if in fact there is this concept that seems to permeate void people or things that have that the Void has taken an interest in.
Your relic is opened.
They seem to be able to have a, let's call it, a human variant and a clone variant. And we've seen this kind of clone thing happen in multiple times. In fact, Eleanor herself even questions if that isn't what these Void entities are in their entirety. All clones that just don't know they're clones. So these clones of the actual people are fighting the battles of the actual people because they only know the imprinted mentality of the thing that they copied. So if at the time the entity that they copied, be it, you know, whatever, one of the proto-frames or whatever, if at that moment their goal was to fight the indifference, then because they don't know that they are clones, they don't think they're part of the indifference, which I think is absolutely part of the indifference's plan, because it does allow for unique kind of things to occur. Most specifically, what we experienced as operators in the Prelude to War, where we are given a front row seat to the sentient boardroom meeting of their own, if you will, by none other than Wally himself, and by literally carrying our body out there, and letting us wake up. Just like, woohoo, look, we're out in the, wow, how'd we get here? So, under that kind of concept, you can make the argument that the operators are in fact the Void clone. That the Drifter was in fact the real person. Right? So now you have, if we take that concept into consideration as a possibility amongst other Void entities, there is a line of dialogue during the Heart of Deimos, in the very beginning of it, where Illyria pops out of her bleep. Oh yeah, you found the mirror, didn't you? Yeah, you can see all from here. In fact, this thing is actually has a diagram within the sanctum. So it's extremely important. But anyway, so if you, again, I'm not 100% saying, well, that's what, you see how these things can all kind of like spitball real quick. Like, does the Lotus know that the operators are Void clones? Is the Lotus a Void clone and thus doesn't know that she's a Void clone, and thus, you know, I mean, again, with everything that happened in the New War, you could absolutely make that claim now, you know. But what I was going to say is, and this is kind of important, in the beginning of, like I said, the Heart of Deimos, Illyria describes this event that she, together with her husband, went into the wall. They went into the untimed door. And when they went into the untimed door, they saw Entrati trapped in there. And at first she believes it to be like a dream, but Lloyd confirms that very thing. No. The construct Lloyd. No. That's happened. That actually happened. Your brain is as wormed as everybody else's. And if you consider the idea of the Drifter in there, and the idea of this Void clone, and that there's a Void clone that isn't necessarily 100% certain that it is who it is, I propose that the Albrecht Entrati that made it out of the wall was the clone. And that the real, actual Albert Entrati is trapped yet in the void in the same manner the Drifter was. And Illyria saw him. So if you consider that, it also answers the concept of how does it seem like, perfect example, we see at the end of or say during Whispers in the Walls, when Entrati walks downstairs, why does it seem like at first he's Entrati, but then he turns into the man on the wall? Could it be the same exact thing that we witnessed during the Prelude to War with the Tenno and, you know, the man on the wall bringing them by body to the thing? Is it possible that the Entrati who has decided to fight back has never been Entrati? I mean, wouldn't it explain the differences in his behaviors and such, too? Yeah. Is the trapped Entrati, did they find a way? Is that the one who found their way to Duviri? And, you know, that's what I was kind of saying before on the idea of, like, that I think we're going to start to lose, is that I don't know this for certain, but I'm just feeling this deep within my Warframe soul that we are going to have to offer the operator to the indifference. But I think it's not going to be in the way that we think. I think the operator is going to be the one to do it, just like Rel. The operator is going to come to the realization that it's them that's the connection. It's them that's the key that keeps this connection open and allows the indifference carte blanche to do whatever. And I honestly see a storyline where our operator, the child, offers itself as a sacrifice to calm the indifference in the end. And it would go in line with the whole love thing, because there is no greater love in all the world than giving yourself for another person. There's no greater sacrifice in the context of literature than offering yourself for everybody else. Saving them, all of them. Well, you know how everybody keeps talking about the concept of Tau? 50 cent? Maybe you found your third point. It would go in line with what the indifference may in fact want to do. I mean, after all, it's not like the operator or the drifter has any interest in going to Tau. We don't care. Why would we want to go to Tau? I mean, has anybody even asked that question? Like Entrati shows up at the end of the hex. Hey, you know, they're already dead. Screw them. Let's head to Tau, man. For what? What's there? I mean, under our current understanding, there shouldn't be anything at Tau. So why do you want to go there? Now, say there was something that you knew of that you wanted to, say, infect, to connect with. And I can see a reason why I want to go to Tau. There are, in fact, significant entities out there. Jane, what's this, Lem's novel Solaris. And I do know the story of, what was the, I saw this thing. Soma, yes. There is, excuse me, there is definitely There's a thing there. There's a thing there. I would say, and one of the points I was trying to make early in the stream that I always lose track because you know how I am, so crazy-minded. But I like to think of, I guess for me, I see so many great inspirations in the current Warframe story. Like one of the ones I was talking about earlier today is this, like, you know, cursed book called The King in Yellow. If you understand The King in Yellow, or at least what they say about it, you're not supposed to read the whole thing or else you're like gonna die or something. Or it's gonna drive you mad. Anyway, the method in The King in Yellow is exactly the same method that is proposed during the Warframe ARG and code, and how all these other narratives are starting to manifest because of a thought that should not have been had. A thought that, dare I say, was even significantly and repeatedly told to people that you have to be careful here. You gotta be careful. Well, imagine Fazul under Man on the Wall's influence. I might have, possibly. Well, that portal opening certainly was, that was the key. I mean, the Palm 2 itself says it. The only reason why the Man on the Wall showed up at the end of the new war is because of what Valis did. And like I said, when you take into consideration how much assistance the Man on the Wall offered us, both in allowing for that whole scenario to occur with the Paracesis and bringing it to the place that needed to be, and you know, and then the idea that there's just like this thing where it's like, hey, we're back. How did we come back to the system? What's the method by which the drifter is able to understand what's happening in the origin system and even be able to help out in the first place? They don't have that kind of ability. They can't do that. I know somebody who could, though. No. No, understand. It's almost like the perfect sleeper agent. Imagine if you had an agent, right? Where they themselves did not know that they were going to do anything. I hate to use this as an analogy, but the Naked Gun is actually, that's exactly what happened there. There was like, you know, people were just regular people going about their lives. In the end, he got poor Reggie Jackson to try to kill the Queen of England. And what I'm saying is that not an absolutely amazing asset to have, in that you have a thing that it believes itself to be openly warring against and would be trusted as a weapon against the indifference, and then at the same time the indifference be privy to literally every tiny thing that entity has access to. Is that not the superb and perfect sleeper agent? And then consider that those sleeper agents could be around in a magnanimous scale. Imagine if the holdfasts were sleeper agents. Imagine if the proto-frames themselves were sleeper agents. Imagine if, like I said, Entrati, the person that we're supposedly helping, is a sleeper agent. Imagine if the Lotus is a sleeper agent. And then you think back to everything that's happened over the past, what, 2 or 3 years. And that doesn't necessarily seem so out of the question, does it? Not saying it's guaranteed, but I'm saying you'd be a fool not to, if nothing else, keep that in the back of your mind, given all the other misdirection that's been consistent throughout the story of Warframe for so long now. Potentially. Remember, I'm just kind of I'm trying to make the story that they offer make sense without all context that DE has. DE may have tons of inside context that they've never really revealed, or that they just assume kind of like within themselves, like, oh, this is just kind of understood, right? That the regular Warframe community just doesn't have aren't privy to, because they've never really had to come out on a dev stream or anything and answer such questions. But I'm saying that given what Warframe has provided, with the fact that there's all these little inconsistencies that so easily seem to rectify themselves by implementing such a easy change that itself kind of almost works with the story to begin with. Again, I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I'm just saying that, like, it fits real good. And dare I say, it fits even better with what I think a lot of people are accepting the actual narrative to be. Because they accept that narrative based upon so many inconsistencies that aren't themselves addressed. Void Secret. So you got a really good name for what you just said, let me tell you. Are you part of the deal too? That name is awfully suspect for what you just said. That information. What's going on with that? I'd even go as far as to say,
your relic is open.
you know how, like, because a lot of people, the thing that I immediately hear from a lot of people is like, oh no, they wouldn't do that because of all the money that they make from cosmetics and whatnot. But if you think about it, how many cosmetics do the operators have? Now think about the cosmetics that the Drifter is able to utilize. And it makes you wonder if they're not just going to, in the future, move us all to our actual selves. Now, again, this part of the story might not come for 4 or 5 years. You know, that might be when we come to the, you know, some kind of a term with the man on the wall. And we might go to this place and that place and this place in between, you know? Oh, I mean, this is kind of one of the difficult parts, I would say, about being a lore YouTuber nowadays. And especially within video games, okay? Because I'm going to tell you, like, it doesn't matter who you are. Say, and I'll bet you any money, My Name is Bife has actually dealt with this to some degree. Because he's done some Warframe videos. But I'll bet you that there are people in his chat that point stuff out to him all the time that they heard in some random event at some point. Oh, is somebody taking off? I'm sorry, I'm so deep in the conversation. But anyway, that they heard at some point that's real. You know, it's real. It's a part of Warframe. But it's just not something that if, like, you go and you just do the quest. You know, just do the quest and maybe go on you know, doing the star chart and things like that. Like, you're gonna miss all kinds of things, and it's hard for people who haven't played the game from day one to keep up with all that knowledge, because it's like, if you were to come into Warframe now, you have got yourself a job, buddy. There is so much shit that you're gonna have to read. And I'm not just talking about going to the wiki and reading it cover to cover. There's web comics you're gonna have to dig into, and a bunch of them. You're gonna be getting your ass all the way out in every open world and trying to find crap, little things, looking for, you know, pieces of lore, snippets, this, that, and the other thing, and then you have to go back and see what the events did, and all what happened here between, you know, the acolytes and Alad V, and like any game with a significant amount of lore, years and years of lore, becomes, it's like one of the most scary things. We can leave right now if you want. I'm just you know me, I'm just doing. We'll take off after this one here. We'll take off. Oh, well, yeah. If you gotta go, you gotta go. Just go. All right, let's get out of here. Are we gonna see aliens in Warframe? I mean, well, okay. Wait. Damn, that's a good point. Are there any aliens in Warframe? Wait, no, I don't want that. Disregard. Oh. That is a hell of a question. I am scrolling my Warframe codex in my mind right now, because you could make the argument for aliens, but pretty much everything in the Warframe world is earthly based or origin system based. Even Tau, what we know from that is still origin system based. Holy shit. You have done the impossible. You have gotten me to shut up for more than like 30 seconds. Congratulations.
Another job well executed.
It's not often that I just completely, that is a great point.
A well-oiled machine is truly a thing of beauty.
I mean, you could say, well, I see who's saying this now, Void Secret. The Void is the type. I know what's going on out there. It's not aliens, it's gods. It's craziness. I see you're trying to make everybody in chat think, oh no, it's fine. It's just a nice little alien, the Void. Don't worry about that. Don't you worry. It's not necessarily a good thing, because then people in the chat have a long period of silence that they have to deal with. But I find it incredible because I'm so long-winded, and like it seems like my ellipses don't ever stop, that whenever someone does hit me with something that like my brain halts itself. I love it. I love it. Damn. I gotta write that down. I gotta write that down on the whiteboard. No shit. There's no aliens in Warframe. Huh? There's no aliens? There's no aliens in Warframe. What? That's right. Zerg, right? I'm speechless. Yeah, we've been out in space, in deep space, in other spaces for 10 years, and not a hint of an alien. Maybe, oh. Zerg, maybe I missed it. I like I said, I'm having an epiphany moment. It's one of them things that like you just don't ever think about, you know, especially with. But you know, we were talking about. Oh my God! Oh, hold on. Sorry. I didn't mean to. What? You see how it is. I lose track of things. I apologize. It's Zerg's idea, but still, it's crazy. So. We were talking during the member stream last night about something. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to miss it. I swear. I'm sorry. I get going sometimes, everybody. I just get going. The stream of consciousness. But hear me out here, real quick. And I do apologize. We were talking on stream about the Fermi paradox. Is that what we were? No. Yeah. Is the void like an embodiment of the Fermi paradox in real time? Next video. Hey y'all, Siege here, and apologies to Zerg first and foremost. Bikini Junior. Fuck this, I'm out. I totally missed it. I'm sorry. Next time you do that, put my name on there. Did you do that? Because I might have missed it because of that. Oh man, yeah, then. The Fermi paradox. Yeah, I know, right? The Fermi paradox. Raze, do you think I should calm down on that a little bit? On the swearing? Is that unbecoming of this channel? Because I can do that if it's bothering people. I usually use it as I like swear words myself, not because they're swear words, but because they add a level of emphasis that is not given to regular words. And it's almost like the shock value of the word itself allows the reader or the viewer or the listener to feel the depth of what I'm trying to say. So like I said, I know that younger people watch the chats or the streams too. I try to keep my language at a minimum, and I promise you that when I do swear, it's not to swear to, like, you know, be dramatic or it's more so to kind of convey a very specific point that, you know, needs that additional emphasis. Like, regular words that aren't cuss words just aren't going to cut it for what I'm trying to say. So, like I said, if there are people in chat that are offended, I do apologize. That's never my goal. You know, this stream's supposed to be for everybody, just to come by and enjoy themselves on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever. Yeah, seriously, right? Wake the hell up. That's what I've always said, that there are no bad words. It's just they're just words. That's all. And it's like, we give power to words. Words themselves have nothing. It's all aliens. Exactly. It's all aliens. Everybody knows this. Well, I just want to make sure. Like I said, this is it's meant to be a stream where everybody can kind of come to and BS about Warframe. You know. Well, I mean, I've always had I love curse words. I think they're hilarious and they're amazing, and the F word is, in fact, the most versatile word in all of the English language. There is no greater word than the F word. It can literally be inserted in anything. And not only does it work, everybody knows what it means. And understand, like, that's one thing I'll never do. I'm never going to be the type of person that comes on here just F this, F that, blah, blah, blah. You know, I feel that's unprofessional. But for my position, if you're in game swearing away, then you're doing the same thing I'm doing. But I'm saying, like, if you're in speaking on Warframe video on a, you know, channel that you take seriously, I think that's kind of tacky. That's just me. But, you know, like I said, enunciating certain things, oh yeah. I will blast F-bombs until there's no tomorrow if it gets my point across the right way. But with that being said, everybody, I do hope that you've enjoyed today's stream. I'm gonna cut it here a little bit early, only because we got a real late one last night, and I woke up and I felt kind of tired and whatnot, and I'm starting to drag a little bit now. My Warframe brain is starting to lose its plasticity, if you will. Oh, Fermi paradox. Fermi paradox, real quick before I go. It is the idea that's supposedly meant to explain why human beings have not yet made contact with alien life. In that there is either a legitimate reason, being that many societies only reach a certain level of evolution, if you will, and they rarely get to the point where significant interstellar travel is ever, I mean, you know, as far as we know, it's only fiction, you know. Maybe not. They said that we have time warp space shit on the White House thing. I don't know what the hell's going on with them. Maybe we can. Maybe we can go to Duviri. I don't know. Maybe. But regardless, the idea is that no societies have seemed to be able to eclipse that particular bound. And the reason why could be a couple different things. It could be that there's just a limit to what you can do, you know, within the resources of the universe, that literally it's just not possible given the amount of space between. It could allude to the potential existence of another type of being or thing that is actively keeping, you know, societies from pushing forward into this sort of thing, or at least the earthly society from seeing that. It could be, you know, aliens that they're trying to keep like kind of it sheltered because they don't want it. But for whatever reason, there's this wall that exists between us and that greater world. And they call it the Fermi paradox because they don't know it. They have no clue why. Like, they don't understand. You would think by now, and given what we know about ourselves and the technology we have and the things we've done, you would think by now that we would have seen something or heard something like legitimate, like undeniable. But for some reason, we haven't. And that may be the case. Maybe in our own, in this earthly body, that we can't ascend. But we don't know. We have no clue what happens next. I mean, many people believe that you just go into the ground and you're worm food. But there's no proof of that. Many people believe that you go to heaven, but there's no proof of that. Many people believe that you die and then your makeup goes back into the collective unconscious, but there's no proof of that. So it's essentially possible. I kind of made the argument, or the kind of the little concept there, that I wonder if the reason why Entrati wanted 1999 destroyed was because when the proto-frames died in that timeline, that their consciousness would then find its way to their connected vessel in this timeline, and thus actually make the weapon usable. Right? Oh my God, that's awesome, Drusik. Well, I mean, if I said what I said incorrectly, it's only because I have a very cursory knowledge of the Fermi paradox, right? So if anybody wants to fill in the gaps of what I missed or anything else like that, like, that's the beauty of these chats. Yeah, I say the thing, and then the experts can chime in and give you the meat, you know, of how it really happens. And I just wonder. Oh, I spot on. Perfect. Love it. I think it begs the question. In this world, is that the reason? I mean, it's the Warframe story. Like, if you really think about it, the Warframe story is one of the few stories out there. I shouldn't say one of the few stories, but it's definitely one of the ones that is coming to mind that's prominent and is doing it right, is the concept of, as the protagonist gets stronger, they strengthen the adversary at the same time. Meaning that there'll never be a time when the Warframes or the operators can actually outmatch the man on the wall. All they can do is attempt to literally to try to match his moves like a chess piece. Dare I say, it might have been, we might have seen like one of the first moves of the chess game, in that the man on the wall at the end of Whispers in the Walls is attempting to take the operator back, right? And it's trying to do something, as it says, you know, Vulni Zata Marlok, you know. And instead of the operator doing what he normally does, which would be to get into the vessel and fight back, Instead, he pulls the whole trying to heal its pain thing instead. That could have been a cosmic chess move, something that the Indifference was not planning on or did not think, and may have, in fact, like I said, got the game moving. Alien lore video? Like, you mean for the movie? Or are you talking about for Warframe? Because you really don't have any. I'll be honest with you. Every single time I've tried to do any video outside of Warframe, it's always gone horribly bad. It very much appears that the people that like my channel like the Warframe aspect of it mostly. First and foremost, for Warframe aliens. Well, I can. Problem is like what you just said there is kind of making me think like I don't have a video to make because I can't think of any. Now, if you are talking about digging in deeper to like the Wally Fermi paradox type thing, that's something. Fermi paradox Warframe video, that's the one. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that one after because this one here has got to get done first, and you're gonna like it better anyhow. Because you're all going to see how important Rel was. Or is. You're right. I do like the Warframe the best. But it doesn't mean that I don't like other games. Yes, I do like Warframe the best. And yes, I would actually say I do like Warframe story the best. But it's not the only story I like. You know, there's a bunch of them. I really enjoyed Nine Souls. I thought that was fabulous, and even added the lore of Nine Souls added to my understanding of Warframe. Can you believe that? Oh yeah, I mean we could do something like that. That'd be interesting. Let me get this next video out, and then we'll see. Maybe in the next week's stream, we'll kind of talk about the concepts. It'll be like the first time that we've ever, as a chat, put together a video. It might be kind of fun. Oh yeah, I do realize we with every DC stream, it's always the same thing. We start on a concept and then we get so far off it at the end that it's just gone. But yeah, for those that may have shown up and are wanting my personal opinion, I think Warframe, I've said this a couple times, I think Warframe is, in my opinion, the best position it's been in, and I can't tell you how long. I think the story is great. I think the visual world building is just almost second to none at this point. That's where we're literally getting there, especially when you contrast tile sets like Entrati's Labs versus like Earth. Like you can see such a maturing of game development within these two things. And it makes you excited for what's coming next, because we read a little thing earlier in the stream about how Rebecca essentially is trying to empower the people around her to be creative, to take a chance, take a risk. Maybe it doesn't work out. So what? Give it a shot. Maybe it'll be the best thing ever. You won't know until you try it. Like most people, and I know there's some people that really don't care for the KIM system, right? But it happens. But at the same time, for somebody that's interested in the lore of Warframe, understand the KIM system was one of the most innovative, interesting, and fun systems to get Warframe lore that has ever existed. And it's a shame that we probably won't get another variation of it for a while, just because of how much work it took to be able to produce that much text. We got so much context about the world of Warframe through the KIM. Don't worry about the romantic parts and everything else like that. That stuff, I hate to say it, that's just for you to enjoy. It's secondary with the KIM. The KIM is the story. If you want to know what's happening now, there's where it's all at. Like, if you haven't engaged in it, it's almost like one of those, it's a game in itself, because you're trying to coerce and manipulate the outcomes that you want to see. Because understand that you have the foresight of what's going to occur, right? You know, when you get into the kinematic, that there's this ability to be friendly with people, actually date somebody. There's that stuff, but there's not a path telling you how to get there. And you can see a bunch from, if you go look in the channel, or through the chat right here, you will see a ton of people that didn't get the endings that they wanted. It's a game. It's a game within the game. And to me, having that as a game that's giving me a lore dump at the same time, and it's actually engaging my mind to kind of think, okay, what I know what Aoi likes here. I kind of have an idea of her personality. Like, when they said you got to get to know them, you get to know them. Hijo, what are you talking about? I might have missed context on that, on your... Zerg, are you going to start a channel? You should. I'm sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Zerg, if you ever have any questions or anything in regards to creating the video or editing it or anything else, or any questions YouTube concerned, hit me up on Discord. Wait, are you saying that we're not going to Duviri?
Samples over here, if you please.
Samples. Oh, I absolutely. Anti-hero. I agree with you 100%. I think that their catalog and all that stuff. When they say that they use the community as their kind of their flag post, if you will, their guiding marker. Oh yeah. No, that's up to you. If you want to change your name, now's a good time to do it. But yeah, hit me up on Discord. I will be happy to help you with anything I can. I mean, I don't have all the information, but I have bits of it, and I would be happy to share anything that I know. And like I said, to me, I like that. To me, the KIM was a risk. It was a serious risk, and they knew it up front. I mean, it's not like everybody was on board. Half the people, I remember when I first heard it, I'm like, a dating sim? All right, what is this going to do? Well, if that be the case, I feel honored as well and would be happy to help you out to get you started. Who knows? Maybe you're the next great Warframe YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? Like the one that eclipses everybody else. Somebody has to be. Drusik, yes, absolutely. In Discord, absolutely. I'll definitely take. I'll take some peer-reviewed information all day, every day. Antihero, yeah, I would believe that. Hijau, I think that the narrative shifts consistently, but I also think that there is a deep kind of, I've said this before, the Hex quest, in my opinion, is so interesting in that it is a whodunit at its core. Multiple times in and during the quest, you do not know who you're speaking to, if they're going to be there. Royal Boyo, maybe. It's interesting. Oh, no, Drusik. That sucks. YouTube loves doing that bullshit. It's amazing to me. I just never understood how YouTube can do anything, because I see so much content that is crazy and shouldn't be there to begin with. Again, I'm sure that there's content out there that should be banned. My question is that there's just so much of it on YouTube that should be banned too, that just sits there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, that it makes me wonder, like, how do you guys decide, like, which one is going to be, which one you're going to actually get rid of? I'm just curious. Comrade, Proxy. I remember really enjoying the second dream, really enjoying the Tenno reveal. But yes, there were. Okay, so I think what you're referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about kind of like the ancillary information, like kind of how they were talking about life within the Orkin, what happened with Margulis, things of that nature, that you wouldn't really have a lot of context at that particular moment to understand, you know, who you were really speaking to and what was going on. Yeah, I probably was a little bit crazy there, or like wondering what the heck was going on too, because I actually see one of the differences for me too, and this is kind of something we talked about a little bit earlier today, that because I started Warframe right before the War Within came out, I was able to access the second dream a lot faster than most other people were, right? Like, I breezed through because all the content was already there. It wasn't like the people that like had started Warframe day one, like they had to wait for certain quests and then this quest and then this quest and this quest. Whereas for me, all that up to the second dream it was all sitting right there for me. So I could just kind of roll right through it. So I'm sure that helped my understanding in some ways, because a lot of, I shouldn't say that, much of what she says at the end of the second dream can be given context by the discussion that she has with Teshin during the Nata quest. But remember that if you didn't play those two kind of back to back, and especially if there was a bit of time between those two quests, I don't remember because I wasn't playing whenever they were like being, you know, released in different intervals and whatnot. But I would imagine if there was a significant amount of time between Nata and the second dream, you could absolutely lose the context of what was discussed within Nata and not remember it for what was said during the second dream's ending. Oh, and I love that, Drusik. It's always the best whenever... Dissenting voices are all we have. It's amazing to me that, like, in a world, hear me out, in a world that prides itself so much on the idea of diversity, that so many within that, and this is on right and left, both shun the concept of thought diversity as being a form of that. Like, isn't thought diversity just as important as skin color? I don't like to get in. I don't want to get too much into a political discussion here. I'm just saying that, like, I think yes, diversity is necessary, but it's not just. It's all of it. So, I get shut down all the time by both sides. When I talk politics, I get yelled at from the right and the left every time. Every time. I always have to deal with it now. No, but apparently I suck on both ends. And nobody likes me, and that's why I usually don't. I don't. I just want to see everybody get along, man. I look at a world of 8 billion people, and I ask myself how we can be so militant toward each other. Even, I mean, I'm talking to everybody. And yet be so interspersed. It's like we got to figure out a way to talk to each other. We have to bring the temperature down. We got to be calm. It's getting weird out there. And the worst part is like it's in the worst. To me, this is the worst part. The people that I see that are trying to get in the middle, that are trying to bring two groups together, are always the ones that are demonized by both of them. It's like it feels like the only people who are willing to heal us are the ones that are being actively shuttered by both groups. Ren, I think that's the way it is. It's live and let live. Oh. And it's such a weird place to be right now because it just seems like everybody wants to fight. It seems to me like too many people are just dying to fight now on both sides. I would even argue, and again, I don't want to get too much into politics. That's not the thing, but I would even argue that like the team is more important than the goal anymore. If that makes any sense. And I'm gonna cut the politics talk there. I do apologize. I'm sure other people had things that they want to get into, but like I don't want to cause any kind of problems within the chat. Like everybody in here has a real good vibe with each other, and they seem to really interact great with each other. I don't want something for someone to speak something and oh man, this guy sucks and that person sucks. And it's like it's like, man, like you're gonna have differing opinions. We're all here for Warframe, but but you know. Now, I've said this before. If we're going to do a quick thing on Tau here, if we're going back to Tau, it's because of the man on the wall. He wants to go there. Remember that. Book it. Take that to the bank. If we show up in Tau, the next thing somehow, and we could, technically, Duviri could just be the starting point of where we're headed, understand. That's one of the things we're not really taking into consideration here is that it's not out of the question. We've seen it within the context of Whispers in the Walls, that within this next quest, even if it's Duviri related, during the quest, we may find ourselves somewhere else. It happened in Whispers in the Walls. It happened in, New War, technically Duviri type thing. like I said, I love the Warframe world. I worry about ours, but you know, hey, we gotta. Every day is an opportunity for a new start. Best way I can describe it. But with that being said, I do hope that you've enjoyed this. Please don't take any of the political things. They mean politics means nothing to me in the grand scheme of things. No offense. I'm sorry. Warframe politics, I'm all about. Okay, all about them. Well, I'll talk about those all day. So, with that in mind, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day today, a wonderful rest of your week. If I don't talk to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.